Yeah. What's up, chat? Happy Friday, man. We have made it. And I am not on the screen right now. And I'm still not on the screen right now. What in the Sam heck? How's that even happen? I'm so perplexed right now. I didn't test it, but I didn't think this would be an issue. All right. Well, I'm a voice in your head. Um, what? Why is this happening? Okay. I guess we will. Wait. Am I on the other screen at least? Let's see. I am not. What is this? No, I'm tripping here. What's up, chat? Happy Friday, as I do some live troubleshooting for this issue. So let me open up properties and let's do webcam. Let's deactivate. Let's activate. Yep, there we go. I believe that's gonna work. Sure. That's a new one. Am I on the breakdown screen? We are. All right. Well, I'm a genius on the air. What up, Sean? What up, Mighty Saint? What up, Jim? What up, Jay Smooth? Mia Moore? Here. Hey, Gun. What's up, my man? Give me 4 locks for tonight's would be appreciated. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll give you more than a couple, right? 7 games on the docket tonight. Should be pretty simple, pretty easy to break down. Right? Should be no complications at all. And hopefully you guys did all right. Last night we saw Luka Doncic lead the entire slate in fantasy points, 75 of them in a quarter, 40 minutes. And speaking of a quarter, went absolutely berserk, bonkers, nuclear in the first quarter to set the table on 51 real points, a career high, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and unreal hot from behind the arc, hit 7 threes. Was fun to watch, but not fun if you had some action on his over assists. It was just one of those days where you caught fire, so didn't need to pass it. Gary Trent Jr., number 2 on the slate. He was a core play for me. There was no way on this planet that I was going to be without Gary Trent in just about everything last night, and he essentially became a great play before halftime, and then doubled down in the second half. We talked about his steal upside against the Houston Rockets. He had 5 of them, and that set a pretty nice table for Fanduel scoring, PrizePicks scoring. Oh yeah, he had 42 real points as well. So really big game from him. Julius Randle has been on a tear up against some tough matchups lately. And then yesterday against Golden State with that RJ Barrett was number 3 on the slate in fantasy points, 61 fantasy points on 28, 16, and 7. Chris Paul, 58.75. We got 37 minutes out of him. We got 19 assists. Huge. Kyle Lowry without Tyler Hero, triple-doubled, 14 real points, 4 steals. Steph Curry, 57 fantasy points, 35 real points. Jimmy Butler, 50. Miami Heat had 3 dueling 50 fantasy point bombs, I guess you would say. Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Kyle Lowry. So if you fell into a 3-stack of that, you should have been really, really nice last night. KPJ, 49, Kyrie Irving, 48, Kyle Kuzma, core play, 48. And then Steven Adams. He had one of those incredible games in just 26 minutes. Set a huge table in the first half, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists. So if you guys have any of that, a couple letdowns. Giannis Antetokounmpo, probably the most notable letdown, 39 fantasy points. One of those slates where you just had money to go up there and get them. So why not? If you did, you probably paid the price. And then Pascal Siakam, underwhelming. Fouled out in 32 minutes. Typically expect 40 minutes from him in competitive games. Got you 30 real points. Didn't really get many peripherals to boot. And then that instant foul trouble. Not what you want. And that was our slate last night. The big trade deadline day. And today, the dust has settled, right? The mushroom cloud is starting to spread out, and there's going to be some teams where guys are ready to go after being traded the last 2 days, are ready to play, and then some spots where the new members of the locker room, new members of the teams aren't able to go. So there might be some opportunities to take advantage of extra usage, extra minutes in the meantime. And we're going to be trying to find all those leans and tells for the next hour or two as we chop up tonight's 7-game slate for Fanduel, DraftKings, PrizePicks, and Yahoo too, if you play on that. So I'm appreciative of you guys joining me. Shout out to you guys for being here. Sean, Fish, Mia Moore, Mighty Saint, Jim, J Smooth, Mike, Knack, E Made It Happen, Skimmer, Lorenza. Sean says, I called it in here that Giannis was a fade. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's open up some tabs here as we get into the action. Of course, this stream brought to you by RunDFS.com. We'll talk more about the perks of membership benefits there later on today, but I also want to open up Underdog NBA, kind of see what it is we need to be mindful of and looking for as we begin. So let's do that. Underdog Fantasy, make sure you're following them on Twitter. Shout out to JFan. Did an incredible job yesterday keeping tabs on the trade chaos. And then today, as he does every day, at 3 p.m. Eastern, key news to watch tweet: Rudy Gobert questionable, Anthony Edwards questionable, D'Angelo Russell questionable, Malcolm Brogdon questionable, Cade Cunningham questionable, Tyrese Maxey questionable, Nikola Vucevic is probable, and Ayo Dosunmu concussion protocol questionable. So those guys definitely represent a lot, right? Rudy Gobert, if he's healthy, could be a 15 rebound guy. Anthony Edwards, D. Russ, if one or the other can't play, that game's implied for 240. So Cat would pick up all of the usage his heart can handle. And we've seen Edwards and D. Russ really play through ailments and injury tags anyway. So we probably expect them to be 50-50 at worst. Malcolm Brogdon's been off and on lately. His team looks a little bit different than it did a week ago. Cade Cunningham's missed a couple of games. We'll see if he can go. Love that matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. Tyrese Maxey, new team, Houdis, and then Sumu. If he can't go, we know that team's already without Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and they've also take a step backwards defensively when it comes to that backcourt defense. So we might be able to put extra emphasis on the opposing team's upside, and then more run for Kobe White, right? Get on some of his real point props, right? 12S Mr. You left Osmo? No, I didn't leave Osmo. I'm so for Osmo, I'm only a contractor. I'm not on salary or nothing. So whenever they need, they were like, yo, Gun, can you do this show? Do this show? Yeah, I do that show. But I don't expect it. I was really only ever brought on to fill in for some baseball. They kept me around here and there for football and basketball. But for the most part, I'm just I'm tagging in, right? I'm on the apron. I'll tag in when they need me. If they don't need me, they don't need me. Either way, we're vibing. But no, we didn't leave. I'm still, well, at least to my knowledge, I'm still ready to tag in for them whenever they need it. Just hoping Gobert's out so I can play Whiteside coming off bench at no ownership. I don't know, man. After that last game, if Gobert got ruled out, Whiteside might pick up some steam, right? And then Chalk Whiteside tends to be an average play. What up, Kate Johnson? All right, let's talk about this slate. Let's open up that RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet and jump into game numero uno. It's the Charlotte Hornets at the Detroit Pistons. Project starting 5 for the Hornets: LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, and Mason Plumlee taking on Corey Joseph, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, and Isaiah Stewart. We got a 227 total, 7-point spread for the visiting Charlotte Hornets. So we mentioned a minute ago, Cade Cunningham is questionable. I believe we got Marvin Bagley out. Let me double check that. Matter of fact, let's refresh this page just in case there's been any new blurbs added in. You subbed to me after Osmo Baseball. I appreciate that. I love talking baseball. And hopefully I'll be able to talk baseball sooner than the pessimists think so, but I don't know. We need this lockout to end, right? Detroit. We were looking for Cade Cunningham news. He's questionable with a right hip pointer, and then Marvin Bagley is. I think I swear I saw something earlier that said he was going to be out. Let me double check Underdog. or doubtful. He's listed out. All right, so we're not expecting him to play yet. In his absence, we'd probably just still lean on deep minutes for Jeremy Grant, maybe some Olynyk benefit. We don't. I think we've talked about it in 2 streams now. It doesn't look like Olynyk's going to straight up benefit minute wise in the absence of Trey Lyles. A lot of their minutes were coinciding with each other, but Kelly Olynyk's still pretty doggone cheap for a matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. So even if he's just getting 20 minutes, I might still chip in a chair that for some good results here. If Cade Cunningham can't go, and he hasn't gone in a couple games, Jeremy Grant was really, really high owned on Fanduel yesterday because of his price point. And again today at 5,200, that would be a price point against a team that we've been picking on all year. Would just be too soft to pass up. And because of the Hornets being such a fast-paced, porous defense, I think you can make cases for really everyone. Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey as well. And then if Cade Cunningham can go and he's not on a restriction, 6,700 versus his 8,000 DK price point, probably too cheap of a discount to ignore. So Pistons could be a source of some value here. Hornets will be without Gordon Hayward, and LaMelo Ball is coming off a really solid fantasy game, a game that netted me $50 from old Raj. And they get a okay matchup. It is a pace up spot for the Pistons, but any game against the Hornets is pace up. So what we're gonna do is gonna put LaMelo Ball on the court. We're gonna put Rozier on the court. We're gonna put Miles Bridges. I do believe we established that Montrezl Harrell is probable today. So I'm not sure if they want to include him in the starting lineup off the rip, or they'll keep him off the bench as a high energy 6-man. But nonetheless, look for him to make a quick impact, and maybe when he's on the court, if it is off the bench, I might eat away from guys like PJ Washington. Really, PJ Washington. So get Gordon Hayward off the court and put Melo, Rozier, and Bridges on the court. We get a usage rate of 27% for LaMelo Ball, 1.2 fantasy point per minute on Fanduel PrizePicks, while Miles Bridges is about 1. Terry Rozier is a little under 1. We know Rozier has the ability to spike here and there. Same with Kelly Oubre, who has been starting for Gordon Hayward. Still probably at a cheap enough price point on both sites that you want to attack. His shot volume is likely to be double digits. So wouldn't talk you guys off of any of these Hornets plays. I'm probably a little less bullish on Mason Plumlee here today in the revenge spot, right, against Detroit. 5,400 though. If you're looking for 30 fantasy points, you think you can get it. That's what the soft projections are spitting back. But LaMelo Ball is probably the apple of my eye here, and that $8,400 price point on FanDuel is way too cheap for me to ignore. So 227 total. Same deal as I always get to with the Hornets. I'm probably going to drive some wedges between the shooters, right? Rozier, Oubre, guys like that. But I would say they're probably cheap enough on FanDuel that I wouldn't be stunned if in today's instance, Melo, Rozier, and Oubre were all pretty solid plays. But maybe when you introduce Bridges into that group, maybe you say no more than 3 of these 4, right? And then Montrezl Harrell, I believe, is only playable on FanDuel. And he's at 4,800. Don't really know what to expect from him right off the rip. I would probably expect him to at least come in a game or so off the bench. But I do like to pick up for the Hornets. He is the ultimate Charlotte Hornets player, right? What up, Elvin? D. Murray and Embiid lineups incoming. I think I have a good lineup to both of them. Definitely looks like a good spot for both of them. Embiid, I'm a little bit skittish on that 12.5 point spread. But he's in a massive spot. DeJounte without Derek White. Also in a good spot on the wrong side of an 8-point spread. But maybe that's the right side for game script and game theory. Nate says, I watched Kelly O last night. The dude is just... So, I mean, Kelly Olynyk, I think anyone in this matchup, in an up-pace spot against the Hornets is very viable. Memphis never really a super plus matchup anyway. But I think the allure by the field with Kelly Olynyk yesterday was the absence of Trey Lyles being traded away. And then it really was, I don't want to say fool's gold, but it wasn't as beneficial minute-wise, at least, as maybe it seems on the surface, because a lot of Olynyk minutes came alongside Trey Lyles. So I think, the line of thinking was, a lot of those Trey Lyles minutes go to Kelly Olynyk. Well, not really, because they were playing a lot of minutes together anyway, right? Gunn is the GOAT, MLB DFS. You heard it. I mean, I appreciate that. I got to toot my own horn. MLB is pretty. I don't know, I'm proud of our NBA content for sure. I got Bay Diallo and Grant right now in my Yahoo set. What are their Yahoo prices? So let's go to player projections in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. Let's simplify this, huh? Let's just go Detroit. I'm just curious. What is Detroit priced at on Yahoo today? We've got Grant at $26, Sadiq Bey 25, Cunningham 29, and yeah. So in context, that's about the same as the FanDuel price points. 13% of the salary, 13. But Yahoo's also a little bit different. So while we could say percentage of salary, Yahoo typically also has like 1 million people near min price that you can play for 30 fantasy points. But yeah, I don't mind that. Like them on all the sites today, but more so FanDuel at the reduced price points, right? Harrell's for sure available. Yeah, under on Plumlee rebounds, maybe. I don't know. Tea time. What up, tea time? I might say the 12.5 spread will be because Embiid goes off, though. Thoughts on that? I would agree. Embiid's in a massive spot. We just did a little bit of research on the spot for Embiid on the PrizePicks show that aired before this show. And yeah, Embiid has a lot of boost without Seth Curry. And then, of course, this may be the last game in a while that we get Embiid without James Harden. So as he's making his case for MVP right now, the odds-on favorite, makes a lot of sense for him to pop off in a very beatable matchup. And then, even further on the devil's advocate side is the fact that the Thunder have kind of been keeping games close on account of really good defense. I don't think they have an answer for Joel Embiid, though. They're pretty outclassed in the front court, and that has been their weakness all year long. But yeah, maybe they keep it within 20 and Embiid can get his full run, right? What up, German? I predicted Kuzma would outscore Giannis, and he did by a point. Let's go. Kuzma had a rough start too. That first quarter was a sweat, but all of them just kind of turned up, right? Even Neto, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, they all just kind of got there, right? Grant over on his fantasy on PrizePicks looks good. Yeah, it would look a lot better if we knew Kate Cunningham was out though. DK's locked tonight. DK locks tonight. Like lock players. Man, I think we need some news to really lock people in. So I don't have any pre-flop, but I'll try and get some, man. I'm trying to get you some. Beef stew fantasy good too. Beef stew. Beef stew. That sounds good. Sorry for missing the PrizePicks show. I don't have PrizePicks Missouri. No, you don't have to. If you have if you have sports betting in Missouri, you can still get some value out of the PrizePicks show, but you don't have to watch. You don't have to watch it. It's really catered for PrizePicks players. So, I don't take offense for you not watching it. If you pop in, hit that thumbs up and hit, leave. I wouldn't say no to that. But Cavs at the Pacers. Next game on the docket. Project starting 5 for the Cavs. Karis LeVert, baby. Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen up against Malcolm Brogdon, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, O'Shea Brissett, Goga Bitadze. So we don't quite know what to expect from the Pacers starting lineup. We don't know if Brogdon's going to play. I guess Halliburton's expected to go, and so is Buddy Hield. This wasn't a trade that happened yesterday, so it's not like we're really waiting on stuff to process. And then Karis LeVert's already played for the Cavs here, already in line for the revenge game, and Darius Garland's out here, so if he starts at point guard, he's kind of cheap enough to maybe get some interest in. We'll say the Cavs pace a little bit low, even lower than the Pacers pace, which has been below the average. So there is reasonable suspicion, probable cause to not be super excited about much in this game. And on the Pacer side, if Brogdon can play, I really don't know what to expect from everyone involved in this game. We might expect him to be limited. So this might be one of those stay away spots for me generally. I could get some exposure to the Cavs front court. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, maybe Kevin Love all guys I can justify. I'd probably be most enamored with Jared Allen. I'm getting about a 40 fantasy point projection, at least on Fanduel. I'll take that at 7,600, sure. But this is one of those games that I thought the total and the pace, everything was going to be meager enough that I didn't find myself wanting to get much exposure to it and take a lot of shots on this one. And we're waiting for some more definitive news. If Karis LeVert comes off the bench again, probably just a sign that I wouldn't expect super deep minutes. And if they, started Brandon Goodwin 5K, I'm probably out on that. So it's going to be a stay away game, 7-game slate. Can't play every game, so this probably would be a candidate game for me to kind of stay away from. Elvin says, bro, what do you think about Pakusevsky? Freaking love the dude for some reason, especially at 3,500. Yeah, Paku, that's a sore subject, man. The other night in my single entry attacks, my initial lineup had Pakusevsky, because in my math, he was the only backup big for the Thunder. But then I basically coin flipped him and Greg Brown of the Blazers and didn't end up with Paku. And if I did keep Paku, I would have swept all my single entries by 10 plus Fanduel points. And, unfortunate. What are you going to do? Beef Stew is Stewart from the Pistons. I like it. That's a good name. He does be beefing, though. Is Love more viable with Garland out? He got 40 in his last time out. Yeah, there was a big stretch there of Kevin Love popping all the way off that coincided with Darius Garland being out. 40 fantasy points is certainly something that he did in a stretch of games. I think it was more than just one game, Doug. There was 3 or 4 games where he was going nuts in the constant being that Garland was out. LeVert is a high enough usage piece that it would shake things up. 6,900 is still kind of an uncomfortable price point to pay for a backup bench big here, but certainly viable, especially against this Pacers team that should be pretty outclassed and outmatched from a defensive standpoint. So keep an eye on that. Buddy Hield is 5K or less on both sides. If Tyrese Halliburton can go, if Brogdon sits this one out, Halliburton might be kind of an obvious in retrospect play. But the Cavs as a team defense has been pretty solid. Garland is a piece of that. So I'm just kind of expecting and hoping for the most average game in the history of averageness, and hoping I win the slate elsewhere. You know what I mean? Roby is in though. Oh, I had Roby still listed as out. Did they change that? If that changed, then yeah, I need to adjust. But from what I pulled 2 hours ago, I still had him listed as out. Let me double check that. We'll get to that game in a second too. But since you mentioned it, Roby has been upgraded to available. Okay, that's a good call, Rob. I appreciate that. Something to keep an eye on. Waiting on the love props? Yeah. I've got so many questions. Thanks for talking about. Do you fade Grant if Cade is in tonight? I think Grant is live at this price on both sides no matter what. It's the gospel, right? Find the Hornets, stack against the Hornets. So I wouldn't be out on Grant. We probably expect the median projection to be closer to 30 more often than not. But the ceiling output, especially in the absence of Cade Cunningham, would be closer to 40 plus. So I would still have some Grant exposure, especially on FanDuel at that price point because it is the Hornets. But if Cade Cunningham is out, that's way too cheap. You know what I mean? But it's the Hornets, man, all year long, right? Not gonna stop now, especially not when 5 or 6 of your or 3 of your starting 5 or 5 and 6K just not gonna be able to do it. Next game on the docket, Thunder at the 76ers. Project starting 5 for the Thunder: Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, Lou Dort, Darius Baisley, Derek Favors taking on Tyrese Maxey, Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. 207 total, 12.5 point spread in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. What up, Desmond? Any PrizePicks talk today? So we just did an hour PrizePicks show if you want to catch that, if you're just a PrizePicks player. But as I go game by game, if you have PrizePicks centric questions, be sure to throw them at me. I don't mind revisiting. One of the PrizePicks, since we mentioned PrizePicks, one of the things that I did like about this game on PrizePicks was Joel Embiid assist, right? So if you're on PrizePicks, or if you're not on PrizePicks, you should sign up, and you should sign up using code Gundacker because they increase your cash rate. It's a proven fact. Don't look it up. But one of the lines they have for Joel Embiid tonight is 4.5 assists. And we ran the numbers on the on-off court tool for Joel Embiid here. Remember, no Harden yet and Seth Curry gone. Check out these numbers on the season for Joel Embiid. And I'm going to run two numbers for you guys. First of all, Joel Embiid with Seth Curry on the court has a 37.8%, or excuse me, a 36.7% usage rate with a 22.7% assist rate. Remember that number, 22.7. Now let's take Seth Curry off the court with Embiid on the court. Embiid's usage rate goes to 42 with a 34.6% assist rate in 276 minutes. So, yeah, maybe the minutes are not that deep, but to gain 11, 12 points on your assist percentage, that's pretty important. And, to get a 4.5 assist line on a 34% assist rate, it doesn't compute, right? Usually you would see 6.5, 7.5, sometimes 8.5 for bigs with that type of number. And this is actually still a query I got up from the PrizePicks show. Last couple games, assist wise, without Seth Curry, 6, 7. There's a 4 in there, but then 6, 6, 6. So I think 4.5 assists might be a good number to attack for Joel Embiid because they have him taxed pretty well on just about everything else. One of the concerns we have is this 12.5 point spread. Could the game blow out? Maybe. Sixers are notorious for playing down to their opponents. Oklahoma's been pretty scrappy defensively, so it's just something to watch, Levert in Remember Me game. If Brogdon is out, I'm iffy on it myself. Feels like a blindfolded dart throw. Yeah, I don't know. I think the pace of it all, and then building that chemistry. I'm definitely. It seems like an unremarkable spot. If Brogdon was out, not Brogdon. I guess if Brogdon was out, and I get more so that Halliburton defense that we were picking on in Sacramento, but maybe it gets better. I can get behind it a little bit more. But just generally, it seems like a pace down neutral spot. I'm not that excited about it. 30, 35, 40. Like, how often is he going to blow 40 out the water? On any given slate, when you're almost 8 to 9K, you're probably going to want closer to 50 fantasy points than 30. So I'm just not getting a projection that gets me warm and fuzzy and excited. Thunder, though. So I accidentally put Josh Giddey at a higher minute projection. The last couple games we've been seeing him play 30 minutes, and that's after the Golden State game. They said they expect to keep Giddey around 30 minutes for the foreseeable future. So this should take a lot of steam off of his implied props and his expectations. So I'm going to come down off of that a little bit. Lou Dort, though, I don't mind his 6,300 DraftKings price point. He might cross up a little too much with Matisse Thybulle for my liking. I think the bulk of my interest in this game is going to be in the hands of Joel Embiid. Would be the most the highest scoring player on the slate. In my early projections, Joel Embiid is right up there with Nikola Jokic. I'm willing to take Embiid over Jokic because of strength of schedule, strength of matchup. Jokic getting a death matchup against the Boston Celtics, right? Jokic can be Jokic and outperform, but I definitely kind of prefer Embiid for a little bit of salary savings on both sides and just kind of like a better matchup. So I might tighten the screws on that, and Embiid just might jump Jokic. I'm curious how you break down the players on Detroit against Charlotte. I only have Oubre tonight for Charlotte, and I like Diallo and Grant for them. So I mean, LaMelo Ball, he leads the whole team in usage and fantasy point per minute. And I think it's easy to look at LaMelo Ball's game log and feel underwhelmed. But I don't think that's fair. Chicago was one of his first opportunities at not a lockdown defense in 5 or 6 games. Dosunmu was out. He's been their best on-ball defender. They don't have Lonzo Ball. They don't have Alex Caruso. And he was able to pop in the absence of Gordon Hayward. Prior to that, Fred VanVleet, been one of the better defenders in the league. Miami's great team defense. Cleveland, great team defense. Boston, probably like the best team defense right now. So, and he was able to pop against Boston. So, I think the more average expectation for LaMelo is probably mid 40s to 50 fantasy points. So I have LaMelo my clear cut number one for them. I'm not expecting him to be clamped up by Detroit here. One of the guys that likes to cannibalize his minutes was Ish Smith, right? And they traded him away. So like usually when he messes up, they'll bench him in lieu of Ish. I guess they could still go for like Rozier moving the ball up and down the court, but I don't know. I think LaMelo is still my clear cut number one. Oubre still cheap enough to have some exposure too. Same with Terry Rozier, but give me LaMelo as a chance to be a top 5 scorer on today's slate. Maxi's questionable now. If Maxi doesn't play without Seth Curry, I love that Embiid assist prop a lot. What up, Nate? Any tips for using an optimizer? I find chalk value like Bones Highland everywhere, and I don't like him, but I don't want to fade him. So I mean, the way I would approach with chalk value, like yesterday, there was a couple guys I didn't agree with. There's a couple guys I didn't agree with that blew up, like Thomas Bryant. I was off of Thomas Bryant because I didn't think Thomas Bryant would get minutes. I thought that the field was making a mistake in just assuming that Montrezl Harrell being gone would give like Thomas Bryant 30 minutes. But he was coming back from an injury, and we hadn't seen him play more than 22 minutes. I think he ended up playing 20 minutes, and I was salty because he got there. It was like a fantastic play, but it wasn't because he got extra minutes. He played less minutes than the game prior. He just went berserk and had 3 stocks and a couple of stats. Now, he was cheap enough that even if he got low 20s. But, yeah, and whenever I find chalk that I kind of vehemently disagree with or I have enough pushback and I just want to go elsewhere, yeah, don't be too skittish. For Bones Highland specifically, today we'll talk about how tough that matchup's been on defense, to where, there's going to be multiple ways to skin a cat if you just don't think that he's going to break a slate, drop 30 or something like that. Then go the other way. If you're using an optimizer and you set your ownership exposures, I think a simple way to start setting your ownership exposures is just thinking about probability of being optimal, right? What's the probability of Bones Highland being optimal? And if you think it's 10% of the time when you run this slate, Bones Highland is in the optimal lineup 10% of the time, but then he's like 30-40% owned, well, we call that over owned, right? We talk about positive negative leverage. That would be a little bit on the negative side. So then I would just kind of be like out on that specifically. So I guess that would be step one, is to start thinking about probability of success, probability of being optimal, and then judge your probability versus the field. And don't feel pressured, peer pressure to match the field or beat the field on every play that you don't agree with, and be willing to take some stands, be willing to hold an L when it doesn't work, like I did last night with Thomas Bryant. And as long as you are honest with yourself that the reasoning was sound or the process was right, you'll accept the results, no matter how variable they might be versus your process, right? Josh says if Maxi was rolled out, then Embiid assist prop will definitely go up. So I think Embiid assist prop is super good now, and then if Maxi was out, it becomes that much better, right? What up, Damien? Made one lineup yesterday. Had cashed on Yahoo. Had Ja, Kyrie, Trent, Matthews, Hayes, Randall, Griffin, Portis. Okay. Did Hayes do anything? I wasn't even keeping tabs on that game. I mean, they really only have 4 ball handlers: Ball, Rozier, Bridges, Oubre. So Ball will do everything tonight. Yeah, I like LaMelo looking really, really good. Think the under on Danny Green's blocks and steals prop a good play? Nah, I probably wouldn't get there. Thunder actually, they allow one amongst the most blocks per game, and Danny Green might get more minutes today because of no Seth Curry and potentially no Tyrese Maxey. So that's probably just what I say. I'm assuming his line is 1.5, right? That's usually what they set lines for if this is a prize pick question. 1.5. So I probably wouldn't. I just wouldn't want to sweat that. But he's averaging what? He's averaging almost 2 stocks a game. Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to sweat that against this team. Matter of fact, if we look at the team metrics chart, in terms of steals per game allowed. OKC is giving up, I guess, a league average amount of steals per game, but blocks per game, they're pretty high up there. But that might be more so for centers. OKC, they're giving up the second most blocks per game. So I don't know. I don't think I would want to sweat that. But I'm different, right? Duck says I'm playing 100% Kelly Oubre tonight. He blew up in Detroit 24 minutes last time out. Yeah, Oubre should be. He's still too cheap for 35 plus minutes of no Gordon Hayward. What if Embiid sits? Or why would he sit? Is that a thing? You know what I mean? Like, is there anything even suggesting that that's a possibility? I don't think that it is. So I think that would just be like irresponsible speculation. Going still with a cash because of guys like Randall and Trent. Yeah, if you got to Randall, I think you're big brained, and we did talk about that at the end of yesterday's stream. How Randall has been on a tear. You look at that Denver game for Julius Randle, where that was game 3 and 4 nights. It was a back-to-back coming out of Utah into Denver, and he's been crushing it. So to have an opportunity against an undersized Warriors front court on night 2 of a back-to-back without RJ Barrett, it made sense, but we just had so much expendable money that it was so much easier it was very easy to just go get Giannis. So I think those of you that played Randall, man, you guys are brave and you guys deserve the money that you made last night. So kudos to you guys. What about Embiid blocks and steals? I'm guessing that's at 1.5 too. And doubling down on the fact that the Thunder allow the second most blocks per game. Sure. I don't have a line on that. Is that really at 1.5? Happy Friday. What up, Damien? Eddie got second place in the big DK contest yesterday. Both my biggest lifetime wins have come from Loho and Julius Randle. Let's go, Eddie. Congrats. Happy to see that. Currently 2.5 for blocks and steals. Maybe. I think the assist line is the line, man. I really do. So I'm leaning on Embiid assist. Would you play Harris with Embiid for Faley? With Embiid? I'm getting about a 40 fantasy point projection, so it's not like super bad. I think Embiid's like just easily my favorite play here, but I don't think you're crazy to do that. No Andre Drummond, right? So is there a couple extra minutes for Embiid, maybe a couple extra minutes for Harris? They lean on Gorgeous Niang a little bit more, right? Especially if it got a little bit lopsided. I don't know. Let's look into that. Can we get some immediate benefit to somebody else in the absence of Andre Drummond? Drummond played 15 minutes against the Suns. Drummond then played 15 minutes against the Bulls. Kind of like Kelly Olynyk, a lot of his minutes are on the court with Gorgeous Niang. Go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Paul Millsap is playing tonight, right? I doubt it. We'll see. Made perfect sense. $33 was the thing that got me in the end for the Randall. That's good, man. I'm see, those are the brave moves, man, right? Like, it makes so much sense to play Giannis, but it also made sense that the Phoenix Suns have spent all year trapping high usage from guys from the other team. And I think the Suns have a case for being the best team in basketball. So at 40-50% owned, there certainly was multiple ways to skin a cat. And a lot of the Giannis lines, especially a lot of the Giannis and Luka lines, looked the same, leaned on the Wizards quite a bit. So having that contrarian mindset, certainly very lucrative, very profitable. And you guys that cash in on that, man, that's awesome. Elvin says, I was able to get Ball, Murray, and Embiid, but my value plays are Thibault, Pokusevski, and Bones Highland. So none of those guys are comfortable value plays. Thibault, kind of a defense first guy. Pokusevski was a guy that comes and goes from the G League, and it sounds like Isaiah Roby is available. And Bones Highland gets the toughest matchup in all of basketball, the Boston Celtics. So uncomfortable clicks, but a lot of upside from the big studs, right? Do we like anyone else in the absence of Seth Curry? So if Maxey didn't play, Korkmaz might be in line for deep minutes, who already just might straight up start without Seth Curry. 3,800, I don't know what that is in context or in relationship. It's the same price as Bones Highland. Would Korkmaz be somebody that could outscore a potentially higher owned Highland in the absence of Monte Morris? Potentially. But we've certainly seen Korkmaz in opportunities for 25, 30 minutes to put up big games, but even in 25 to 30 minutes, he can kill you as well. 32 minutes against the LA Lakers. We know how bad they've been on defense, 11 fantasy points. But there's a range in outcome of 29, of high 20s, something like that. So maybe somebody we sprinkle into the back end of the player pool. And then if Maxey can't go, then it would just make me like Korkmaz that much more. And then Shake Milton might just straight up jump a guy like Bones Highland in ownership. Remember, the field isn't that dumb anymore, right? So I do think that would be the sharp jump there. So something to keep an eye on. What was the Maxey downgrade? Let me see. Let's pull up Underdog. Get him with that young refresh. Korkmaz race to an Embiid on the quarter solo. Yeah, it's certainly not a comfort click. So Roby now available. Hernan Gomez. Did I have Maxey? I do have Maxey questionable. So I guess this would already be something that's on here. Philly. Right hamstring tightness. And then Shake Milton has a Q tag on him, which is back contusion. He hasn't played since January 3rd. So he may not be live for big minutes either. This Embiid assist prop is looking so juicy, guys. I don't know, man. I might get in trouble here. 4.5 assists with a 32, what would we say, 34% assist rate. And these guards are questionable. I'd be probably putting some action on that this far out. PrizePicks, by the way, on Friday, today between 1 and I think 8 p.m. Entries can be as little as $1. Usually it's $5. Today it's $1. So if you guys are looking to at least get to say you got some action on numbers like that, you can do so for as little as $1 right now. Make sure you're using code GUNDACKER. They'll match your first deposit up to $100 if you haven't signed up yet. Let's move on to the next game here. Spurs at the Hawks. Project starting 5 for the Spurs. DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Dougie McBuckets, Keldon Johnson, and Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella. 233 is our total. 8-point spread in favor of the home team, Atlanta Hawks. DeJounte Murray without Derek White, and don't expect Josh Richardson to play yet, right? I think I already had him listed as out. Maybe he'll get that old Isaiah Roby upgrade, but for now, we're gonna anticipate him being out. We're gonna be looking at DeJounte Murray, and we're gonna be looking at his numbers specifically this season with Derek White off the court. Would also maybe do a couple splits here, another split with Poeltl on the court, but just straight up on the season without context. Murray without White, a 28% usage rate, 44% assist rate, and a 1.5 fantasy point per minute plus on both Fanduel and DK. And then maybe we'll throw Jakob Poeltl in the mix here, just kind of see what happens. Joker went to 8.5 assists, man. People were on that under. I'm telling you, that Boston defense has been so strong. So Murray with Poeltl on the court. Poeltl has a over 1 fantasy point per minute production on both sites. Nothing staggering in terms of individual numbers, though. But Murray's still pretty steady Eddie at 27% usage, 43% assist rate, 1.6 fantasy point per minute. So, yeah, Murray looking like one of the potential top plays on the slate. If I look at my player projections, I find DeJounte Murray is top 4 in fantasy point projections. So if standard deviation goes his way, he just might be the top dog when all is said and done. And we know that the Atlanta Hawks, specifically when Trae Young is starting, certainly have the propensity to hemorrhage fantasy points to opposing point guards, allowing a top 10 amount of fantasy points per game to the position. And also up there, are the San Antonio Spurs, and Derek White, unsung for his defense, one of the better guard defenders in all of basketball. And now that the Spurs are without him, the matchup gets better for the Spurs, which has already been a fruitful top 8 matchup in all of basketball. So Trae Young also could profile here and be an obvious 230 total, where his team's implied for over 115 here. He would have a real shot at 30 and 10 plus, right? 30 plus points, 10 plus assists. So Trae Young is right there in the thick of it. I have him top 3 in fantasy point projections. So much like DeJounte Murray, even at a discount to DeJounte Murray, a $1,600 discount to DeJounte Murray on Fanduel, has a chance to outscore Murray, and also has a chance to just be the top fantasy point producer on the slate. So I would have both Murray and Trae Young pretty liberally involved in my player pool. And then to discuss a few things, one that we've been noting consistently on this show the last couple of Hawks slate, and we just talked about it on the PrizePicks show, is Clint Capella. For DFS, he's pretty doggone cheap, but he has been relegated to the bench in the fourth quarter. And I suspect that this might be hinged on the fact that he is an insanely inefficient free throw shooter, to say the least. I think he's like 30% free throw, something like that. And we have seen a trend now of him just not closing games. And to put an aesthetic to it, that last game kind of a blowout, so it's not that fair. But we'll go to like the Mavericks game, a little closer game in final scoreboard. Capella a minute or two in the fourth quarter. John Collins at the 5. And Onyeka Okongwu has been playing a lot more fourth quarters against the Toronto Raptors. Same song and dance, didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, Okongwu, John Collins are on the court playing the 5 against the Phoenix Suns. Clint Capella barely in for a couple minutes in the fourth quarter. We keep it going. Raptors again. Clint Capella not on the floor in the fourth quarter, while starters are. So for whatever reason, they prefer Okongwu and or John Collins to close games out. Again, I think it's hack a Shaq, get you in trouble. And what this is doing, in my opinion, is creating an opportunity for a discounted first half rate for on PrizePicks, but in just props in general, because they're getting a full game projection. And for first half, second half props, really first half, they're just dividing it by 2. And they're not putting more weight on the first half than the second half. And I believe from what we're seeing with Clint Capella, that's the right way that would be the efficient way to price Capella. So I think we're getting a discount on Capella first half numbers. And if we look at the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, we have that team DVP chart. San Antonio Spurs are giving up a top 4 amount of fantasy points per game to the opposing centers. So Clint Capella first half fantasy points, anybody? 13.5 Fanduel points, PrizePicks points. This is the line he's cleared in 4 of his last 5. Toronto being one game that he didn't. Toronto been pretty decent against fantasy points against the centers. So I kind of like leaning on Clint Capella's first half prop. And then I don't know if they would divvy up a similar number for the second half and maybe take the under in the second half. But that's something to keep an eye on. And the Spurs have just been a fruitful matchup. So my thoughts on that are as such. And then on... what are we doing? On the Spurs side, Zach Collins is back in the picture. He's, 3 games in now for the Spurs. They traded away Thad Young, and then Drew Eubanks has been... Did Eubanks get traded or moved? I think he's just listed as out. He was traded to the Raptors and waived. So no Eubanks, no Thad Young. So I think it's like Jock Landale and now Zach Collins. So I'm keeping an eye on Zach Collins' minutes. Will they begin to interfere with the minutes of Jakob Poeltl? I don't think they will. I think we're just getting Eubanks and Thad Young scraps for now. But against Cleveland, he got into pretty big foul trouble. 13, 18 minutes his first 2 games. Pretty efficient in the minutes, but I just something to keep an eye on. But I do think Jakob Poeltl is an interesting click here. The DK price point probably a little bit more favorable than the FanDuel one. Let's get caught up on chat here before we move on to the next game. Brody says top few prize picks plays on prize picks from the Department of Redundancy Department. So I'm thinking Embiid assists, maybe Capella first half props. That was kind of it. There's a lot of news still out there. Ayo Dosunmu news is bigger than maybe people think. The T Wolves have Edwards and D Russ news hanging in the balances. And that's kind of it. Yeah, that's all I got. Jokic 30 real points. Yeah, and there was a lot of steam on Jokic unders because of the Celtics being so good. I don't know, someone. What's your favorite Murray prop? Probably assist. But I do think DeJounte's been priced well, right? I don't think we're getting massive discounts anywhere. Maybe we just take fantasy points. Just throw a blanket over everything. And Murray is a guy that averages 2 steals per game. And Trae Young, certainly somebody that can turn the ball over, right? 5, 4, 6 turnovers. So probably just throw a blanket over everything and attack DeJounte Murray fantasy points. And then if we really just want to get DeJounte Murray FTP by game log without Derek White last 10 games. Fastest fingers in the West. 56, 69, 53, 52. So 52 or better in 4 of his last 5. That one was against the Knicks. Knicks, a slow pace team, only 30 minutes. Might have been a lopsided game. So if we're getting 52 plus and the line's at 49.5, yeah, I'd probably just take the fantasy points. And we know Trae Young defense is something that we can get behind. That's sharp inside and compel. I appreciate that, Doug. Would Z Collins be a better fit than Bones? I mean, Bones Highland's probably live to play 25, 30 minutes, just picking up Monte Morris minutes, plus his own. But the matchup is probably better. But I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in that split. I think we could probably find somebody like if we. I don't know if we lose Maxey, I might just get behind Korkmaz for deep minutes and hope for the best. Vassell assists, great value. Hawks give up assists and Spurs pass the ball. So Devin Vassell, Trey Jones questionable. Devin Vassell's averaging 1.5 assists as is. 4K on DraftKings. Probably plays a deep chunk of minutes. Do we expect Vassell to start over Lonnie Walker? Probably, right? Probably. I guess we can just go to this DeJounte log, right? So against Cleveland, Derek White didn't start that game, right? And Devin Vassell did. Vassell had no assists in that game. I'm worried about him sharing the court with DeJounte. But Vassell just might be a solid fantasy player here. He hit 10 and 5 and 2 steals at 4K. That feels like 20 plus. Double check. 31. There we go. Maybe he's just a really good fantasy play no matter what. I have him for 27. I probably want Vassell over me. Maybe Vassell over Bones Highland. We'll look at Bones in just a second. Go as deep as we can, but I understand this. If Monte Morris is 4K today, I still don't think he would be like massive chalk because you don't expect people to thrive when Jokic is on the court. So I don't know. Jared Allen and D Russ or Cat and Dosunmu if he's in. So D Russ is questionable too. We're from and Anthony Edwards. So Edwards' presence or absence would definitely move the needle on D Russ, who is also not for sure in. Probably Cat and Dosunmu. And I guess the reason for that would be Cat and Dosunmu is still positively correlated. And that game has a friggin' 240 total, right? So probably Cat and Dosunmu. There's some moving pieces in that question though, right? But do you like this line? Ball, Rozier, Vassell, Murray, Bridges, Oubre, Keldon Johnson, and Grant Goga. Goga Bataze. Yeah, I don't really have a specific quarrel with it. Also, I guess we should talk about Keldon Johnson since we're here. Keldon Johnson's 3-point prop I saw this morning is one of the more bet props on the on the night. And then let's put Keldon Johnson in the split with DeJounte Murray. And remember, the front court's a little bit more depleted, and you can look his way for some scoring. Keldon Johnson, 19% usage rate, 0.8 fantasy point per minute. I have him for about 30 fantasy points, 6K on both sides. I don't mind sprinkling him in there too. You like Campazzo if he starts? Do you think he will? I think Campazzo's the better per minute guy. Facu, he's just, I think he's a mistake maker, right? He's the guy that turns the ball over a bunch. Hiccup. Two. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was reading something about his efficiency on the court not being great, but for a fantasy perspective, we've certainly seen him be pretty impactful per minute, and that's what we care about. But any which way you slice it, the Celtics are just a tough matchup. Thanks for spending your time with us. What do you mean? That's what we're here for, right? Talking Slate, we're doing research. Celtics hosting the Nuggets. 7:30, by the way. Most of these games in the first hour. And then, like, the last game is a lopsided Utah game, right? Celtics hosting the Nuggets. Project starting 5 for the Nuggets. Bones Highland, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, and Nikola Jokic taking on Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Robert Williams, the Time Lord. 219 total, 6-point spread in favor of the Boston Celtics. Celtics are putting on the clamps. They are adding Daniel Tice, former Celtic great, and Derek White in exchange for Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder, guys like that. Also Enes Freedom, right? So they basically really got rid of all of their defensive liabilities. Enes Freedom, Enes Kanter, definitely notorious for not being the best defender. Dennis Schroeder, not the best defender. Jay Rich was all right. But this is a team that is set up to look a lot like one of the old Spurs incarnations, right? And let's do something here. Let's look at, I don't know, Boston Celtics defensive rating last 15 games. $102.4. We tightened that up a little bit. Let's go 12 games. Even 102.4 is really good, by the way. Last 12 games, 99 points per 100 possessions. 102, 99. We put that in the team metrics chart. Sort the league by best defensive rating to worst. 102 would still be the league best. 99 is easily the league best. This team's on a different planet right now when it comes to clamping teams up. And the Nuggets are pretty, I don't know, I don't say lopsided, but we know this team's going to go or not go as Jokic goes and or not goes. So definitely feels like Celtics can be another spot where they hold opposing teams down a little bit. And something about this game, both teams have a low pace rating, right? The Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets have a bottom 10 pace rating, and offensively the Nuggets are really good efficiency wise, but it's an unstoppable force, and movable object. I think Boston might have a good scheme against Jokic here, so something to keep an eye on. I don't have a lot of high expectations here. I'm willing to go and beat over Jokic straight up today. I would imagine this is probably one of the few slates where the field agrees with that, but I guess we'll see. And I don't have any strong leans on the Celtics. Usually if I get the Celtics exposure, we're staggering it. One of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, or at most, not one of, not minimum. And then, maybe we get a couple extra minutes for Brown, Marcus Smart without Schroeder, without Jay Rich. And in that front court now without, Enes Freedom, maybe Grant Williams minutes are a little bit more solidified. And if Derek White and them don't play, maybe Peyton Pritchard steps up for little extra minutes here. But I'm thinking Celtics 5 is or the Celtics 5, and we probably expect everyone to have like a 20% usage rate and go from there. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum probably at like 24% apiece, and you're just flipping a coin between the two. Brown at 8,100 on FanDuel. I just need the north side of 40 fantasy points. Feel like I'm getting a decent deal. I'm getting 41 fantasy points right now. Jason Tatum, I'm looking for 50 plus. I'm knocking on the door, but I'm not quite there. So I guess I would get to a little bit more Brown than Tatum on FD, but for the most part, I'm just gonna have a little bit of both and let it go from there, right? Houston legend Daniel Tice, leave the memories alone. Leave the memories alone. I'm loading up on the Charlotte and Spurs game a lot so far. Yeah, I mean that's good process. Charlotte, Houston, those are just process teams, right? They're on the slate. Let's get some exposure to it. Spurs too. I think the Spurs defense definitely takes a pretty big hit here without Derek White, and they've already been a part of a lot of high total games. So you're getting a team like the Atlanta Trae Youngs, and I can certainly get behind that. J. Cole says, just adding context, I've been giving up 110 or more to teams over 500. Who for the Celtics? I mean, I guess if you're saying the strength of schedule has been a little bit on their side, that's fair. But it's eye test is eye test. Brooklyn, they didn't have nobody. Orlando sucks. Detroit sucks. Charlotte is one of the best offensive teams in basketball. Miami's a good team. Pelicans suck. Atlanta, decent offense. Kings suck. I guess yes. Schedule has certainly been on their side. But I also I don't know, man. I always feel like the Nuggets are vastly overrated. Denver Nuggets offensive. Let's go efficiency in away games this season. 111. So that's pretty good. Okay. All right, J. Cole. Jermaine Cole. Mr. Celtic hater. What do you like more, Tatum or Brown? I think game to game, Tatum probably feels like the higher ceiling guy. But I as a multi-entry guy, I almost like never get them both in the same lineup, and I set that rule in Fantasy Cruncher, and just kind of let the projections do the thinking for me. Bucks lost to the Suns. I don't know, man. I think the Suns are possibly the best team in basketball, like the best team. Bucks are up there too, though. So I'm not shocked that they lost to the Suns because the Suns are really good. Go ahead and hating on my Nuggets. Hey, I wasn't hating on them. I'm just giving respect to the Celtics. And I was giving J. Cole his due diligence, man. He mentioned in chat, right? Not saying you're wrong, Mr. Celtic. Mr. Celtic. Oh, it's Mr. Celtic suck. I'm just kidding. They just lost Dennis too. I think we can keep it close for sure. Come on, man. Dennis Schroeder was not an active part of the plan. He didn't understand the assignment, right? 19, 20, 23, 17 minutes, giving you 4 to 22 points per game. I wouldn't overestimate the impact that Schroeder's been having on Celtics games lately. I just don't see 76ers blowing them out. The Thunder, I mean, that's fair. The Thunder have been hanging in there. 76ers notorious for playing down to opponents, and they could be without Maxey. They are definitely without Seth Curry. No Harden yet. So I could see that, Big Bino. And if you don't, then I would love Embiid even more, right? Bone starting, my favorite player. That's your favorite player, James? All right, I guess we should look into the Bones Highland situation. It sounds like this is going to be a polarizing subject today in many chats. 17, 25, 20 minutes, last couple games, 35, 16, 24. So, I don't know. What do we do first for some light research? Let's put up Bones and Jokic on the court together? Bones. Isn't there a TV show called Bones, Woman Detective? Or something like that. Let me refresh it. I'm not getting the option. Delaware, Bones, Highland. Shout it out from Sydney. What up, Sydney? Australia? Jermaine from Australia? Jermaine, I gotta say, I didn't think Jermaine was a common name in Australia. But shout out to Australia. Australia got some loyal basketball fans, man. Bones. Mine just they got a different name. Oh, it's Nashawn Highland. All right, cool. Cool. Nashawn. His mama call him Nashawn. I'm gonna call him Nashawn. His mama name him Nashawn. I'm gonna call him Nashawn. Nashawn Highland. So when he's on the floor with Jokic, 0.7 fantasy points per minute. Jokic 1.82. So I don't know. We'll put that in context with like Monte Morris. I guess the question is, if Monte Morris was 4K today, is Monte Morris one of your favorite plays? Monte Morris is a 0.82. Excuse me, 0.82. So 0.82 while Jokic is 1.7. So when he's on the floor with Jokic and Will Barton, probably he's just Monte Morris for a little cheaper. Do you think Highland gives you a tournament winning output today, right? How often is he a truly optimal play today? 0.2 fantasy points per minute. That's actually a little lower than Monte Morris. So I don't know. I don't want to be the guy that puts you on or off anything, so I'm just gonna give you guys numbers. And then also let's I don't know, put Will Barton in the mix, huh? Thunder's outright. Relax, Dougie. Relax. We got Boogie back. Yeah, it's a Boogie night. Let's go. Been hearing of Bones. He starts tonight. Will he go big? I mean, if he's gonna, you gotta understand how much Jokic does, right? And give it appreciation. Then also Will Barton's probably gonna be number 2 in usage no matter what. So Highland could be the third option. I just don't see him taking over and dominating while he's with Jokic, right? I'm not saying it's not possible, but man, it just doesn't seem like the likeliest outcome. 95 minutes of Bones Highland, Will Barton and Jokic on the court together. Highland 0.68 fantasy point per minute. So I'm not excited about it. Sprinkle him in the pool, whatever. But yeah, don't think Bones starts to be killing it for us off the bench or on the second unit. Yeah, I guess it's possible that he wouldn't. I'm just copying what the industry is projecting. You could see Bryn Forbes, you could see Austin Rivers, you could see Will Barton. That's possible. And if that happens, we're definitely not running to play Austin Rivers, right? So there's certainly a few outcomes. I think the most common approach for me here is just I'm gonna not care and hope that the Celtics clamp up, because there's not like a surefire weakness that I can put on this Celtics defense and be like, okay, this guy fits the bill of somebody that should destroy that. It's usually just Jokic. So I'm every now and then I'll get to a Barton, but I think today I'm just not gonna really be there. Hopefully we get some other incredible value opportunities. I like Joker assist 8.5 plus. Eric, it was at 9.5. I think Steam came in on the under because of the Celtics defense. So now it's 8.5. But when we did the Prize Pick show an hour ago, I'm pretty sure Jokic was at 9.5. And so I'm looking at 9 now. I think a lot of action, in quote, laser beams. I don't know why I just did that. Are on some Jokic unders because of the Celtics defense. Said Bones is that guy. Never heard of him. Busy as that dude. Man, I there was a lot of hype on Campazzo too, and Campazzo could start at point guard, but it feels like they're less likely. I don't know. It seems like they're getting a little soured on him. Anyway, we did all that. Let's move on. Timberwolves and Chicago Bulls. Why am I talking like this? I don't know. 241 total. 3-point spread in favor of the Chicago Bulls. Projected starting fire for the T-Wolves. Patrick Beverly, D'Angelo Russell crossing over with Anthony Edwards. Jared Vanderbilt, Karl Anthony Towns, the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd, taking on Ayo Dosunmu, Zach LaVine, Javonte Green, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. On the Bulls side, Dosunmu is the big story to watch. I believe he has a concussion. is listed as questionable. Sometimes concussion protocols can go a game, 2 games, 5 games, 10 games. Did he practice? I guess would be a good indication. Hasn't played since the 7th, so 4 days. He could still be out. I don't know how bad it is. I'm not a doctor. If he does play, it's pretty cheap as a piece of exposure to a potential ball handler and a 241 total. I think that has to be established, is that this is a really freaking high total of 241. But it has a lot of cues, and DeSumo is the big one for the Bulls. If he can't go, you get extra minutes for Kobe White. You get some more ball handling distribution for Zach LaVine, for DeMar DeRozan. You just kind of spin the wheel on those guys and hope for the right combo, set some right exposures. Vucevic per minute on the court with LaVine and DeRozan leads the trio in fantasy points per minute, while DeRozan might lead the trio in real points, and LaVine can get you there as well. LaVine at 8K is still really, really cheap on Fanduel. He was one of my highest owned players on that last slate, and I probably am just going to run it back here. I just think he's probably $1,000 too cheap on FanDuel for what his game-to-game ceiling could be, and it becomes that much better of a play if the Sumu's out. So with the Bulls, I'm just going to stagger them in multi-entry. And then against the T-Wolves have a ton of news to watch, and it starts at the top. Patrick Beverley's questionable, D'Angelo Russell's questionable, Anthony Edwards questionable, and then of course behind them we got some Okogie, Taurean Prince, Naz Reid. Those types are questionable. Anthony Edwards is dealing with a left patellar tendinopathy. Yo, John, appreciate that sub. Welcome to the channel. If he can't go, certainly that would boost D-Russ, that would boost Cat. So I guess since it's only 315, we'll run a couple of, and you guys are taking notes. Maybe we'll write some stuff down and just kind of prepare for it as it drops. So I think ultimately Karl-Anthony Towns looks like a pretty solid spin no matter what, and he just becomes that much better of a play if he's able to get some action without one of D-Russ or Edwards. My guess is that Edwards would have the biggest positive impact to his absence for Cat. So let's do that first. Let's put Cat and D-Russ on, and then let's take off Edwards. DeRozan is MVP status. He's been killing it. I think obviously Embiid is the MVP right now, but so if Cat and D-Russ played and Edwards were to miss, Cat has a 34% usage rate, 1.4 fantasy point per minute. D-Russ is at 27.5% usage rate, 32% assist rate, a little over a fantasy point per minute. Now let's swap them. Trading places. Who remembers that song? I was gonna like spoof it, but I feel like it was just gonna get really sus. We don't want that. Did I just do the same thing? I'm a bot. I'm a bot. All right, now let's put Edwards on, D-Russ off. Cat 28.5%, or excuse me, 27% usage rate, 1.3 fantasy point per minute, while Edwards goes to 29% usage rate, 111 fantasy points per minute. And then, of course, so we put them all on the court at the same time. And I didn't run any Patrick Beverley in this split. We put them all on the court at the same time. Usage rates look like 25, 26, 27. So pretty well evenly distributed, and Cat drops to a 1.27. So he could be as great as a 1.4 implied per minute production guy tonight in a 240 total, or as little as a 1.27, which, still makes him very viable. So I think no matter what, I sprinkle some Cat in the mix, but we would like to see one or the other be out, and it seems like Anthony Edwards being out would be probably the thing that makes me more excited to get to some D-Russ, to get to some Cat. And then if Beverly wants to take the night off, I'm not against it. Ayo Dosunmu has been a pretty solid defender individually. Gets to go up against Beverly. Maybe they bulldog each other, but for the most part, I think this is one of those games I'm just getting exposure to in the right usage spots. Give me Cat and D-Russ if Edwards is out. Give me Cat no matter what, and then D-Russ if or Edwards if D Russ is out. And I guess if the more annoying scenario is if they're all in, and then you're just hoping in your X amount of lineups you get the right combo, and it might be a little bit more cannibalization within, and there's a median range of outcome where 40 from D-Russ and 40 from Edwards and 40 from Cat is largely irrelevant at the end of the night. So I would like to be able to narrow it down a little bit more. Hopefully we get that news with decent time to spare. Same thing with the Bulls, right? Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic. There's always that outcome, more so on DK at 9K, 9.7, 9.5, where they could all just drop 40 apiece, and that's largely irrelevant at the end of the night. But the 241 total, this is bigger than usual, right? Usually we're dealing with 220s and sometimes high 220s. Here's just a little bit more. But at that Fanduel price on Levine is probably the easiest path to success. Big Bino says, seems like NBA concussion protocol worse than NFL. I don't know, man. I really don't know. It shows that no two concussions are the same, I guess, because we've seen, was it Donovan Mitchell was out for a big stretch with a concussion, and then we've seen guys miss one game or be back the next game. Everyone is different, right? You just got to pass certain tests. Has Beverly been good defensively this year? I feel like the T-Wolves have been better on defense than they get credit for. I don't know how we would look at this. Patrick Beverly defensive rating this season. Metrics for individual defense, I feel like are not great. 109.5 certainly not great. But I don't know if that's, I guess we could look at like the LeBron and the Raptor scores and stuff like that. But certainly individual metrics are a little bit harder to achieve in NBA than it is like baseball, or really any sport that's not baseball. Levine, remember me? I'm curious how he's played against the Wolves in the past. Maybe, but those revenge narratives, they're tongue in cheek and whatever. I prefer it when they're in the opposite city, right? Right now it's just another basketball game. Would you rather play Cat or Embiid? I'd probably say Embiid snap call, but I guess my early projection really isn't that vastly different. I guess I guess it is. I'm getting 48 on Cat on DK, 56, so that's 8 points. If you think about that, I don't know, value system that the field uses, 5-6x value, it basically represents 5-6 points per $1,000. So I'm getting a 4.7 or maybe a 4.8x value on Joel Embiid. I'm getting 4.9 on Cat. So specifically points per dollar on the upper end median projection would be Cat, but I think the raw points are worth that much more for Embiid, and I certainly think that if we lose a Maxey and I adjust the projection, there's a real chance Embiid shoots up to 60 fantasy points, and then if all the T-Wolves are in, we probably don't see much movement in the Cat projection. So I think the likeliest outcome in that 1v1, if I'm getting into it, is probably going to end up with Embiid a large percentage of the time. What up, John? Do you do this every day? This stream? Yes. Well, not on Sundays and sometimes Saturdays. I think we're going to try another Saturday stream tomorrow with old coach. I don't think I'm going to do a PrizePicks stream tomorrow. I like to give Josh this weekend. Maybe if somebody else with the PrizePicks fire, or unless Josh is in. But for the most part, this stream is just about every day, every weekday for sure. Unless I have obligations somewhere else. How has Cat done against Vooch in the past? We can use that information. Carl Anthony Towns, BKP by game log versus Nikola Vucevic last 10 games. Like DeMar more than Levine, pure bucket. Coop, I think that's fine. Yeah. Seems like his ceiling is higher lately, right? Even in matchups, you don't expect him to thrive. He thrives. Cat looks like he's done just fine against old Vucevic. Only one game of Vucevic with the Bulls, and then everything else is Vucevic with the Magic. That Bulls game came last April. 37 minutes, 59 DKP, 27-12. And I guess if we want to flip that specific game, Vooch with the Bulls. Of course, that might have been without one of DeRozan. Yeah, that was definitely without DeRozan. So it's a little bit different to flip it. but Vooch had 18, 5, 5, 3 blocks. Okay, but yeah, if that's what you're Minnesota, Cat hit 27, 12, 8. Cat almost triple doubled that game, and there was no D Russ, no D Russ. Ricky Rubio played that game. Edwards was in as well. The Heat trio all dropped it. Yeah, tea time. That was crazy. That was wild, man. Does Jetty's role increase with Darius out? I think it's neutral. He might lateral to just be the same. I guess it depends on if Karis LeVert started as the point guard, and then you could argue that Jetty Osman versus Brandon Goodwin for the other ball handling duties here. I guess you could also argue that there's a world where Jetty could start at the 3, but it looks like lately they've been back on the Dean Wade trade, so there is some movement in that potential lineup. I think the last game Wade started, but we have seen some Jetty at the 3. But I would say that in this case, I expect that they didn't trade for Karis LeVert for no reason. So I wouldn't move the needle too much on Jetty unless the lineup came out and he was starting and LeVert was off the bench still. But I don't know. I think I'd take my shot here. In the revenge spot too, right? DeRozan's game's almost a lost art. The mid-range assassin. Yeah, DeRozan's crushing. I love DeRozan. Seems like such a nice guy too. So of his Raptors jersey, yeah. NFL all-day packs dropping. I haven't got into that yet. Have they been? Is it like early Top Shot where every pack is a profit? I've seen friends that are into it that have mixed success in terms of, I don't know, user experience, customer satisfaction rate, I'll say. And it doesn't seem like it's as lucrative as the Top Shot. The Top Shot pack. So you got one of those in the early days, man. They were flipping 5x, 6x plus, right? Bones or Rondo. Man, I'm gonna be real. If I ran 20 lineups, I may not get to either. I mean, this is crazy that Bones is this hot of a topic today. When he, like I said, if we replace his name in the starting lineup with Monte Morris and keep the prices the same, I don't think you people are talking about Monte Morris like this. And his on court numbers in the split with Barton and Jokic are actually worse than Morris while he's sharing the court with them. So, and the same with Rondo. I'm not expecting the world from Rondo as a backup. Now, I guess if the Cavs okey doked us and like started Rondo and let LeVert come off the bench again, easing his way into chemistry with the team, that's an outcome. But I don't know. It seemed like they would start Brandon Goodwin. So I may not get to either. But the projection on Rondo for me is 26 on Fanduel, 23 on DK, and then for Bones Highland, I'm getting 26, 20. So it's almost the same exact projection. So it essentially becomes a flip a coin, and then if one or the other ends up in the starting lineup, you might feel better, but you might actually feel worse about Bones Highland in the starting lineup. At least I think I would. I don't know. Never done Top Shot. I don't know how it works, but it seems dope. I'm out of the Top Shot game now, but at first I was it was really money. To be fair, Monte isn't 3,800. I'm just saying, T-Time, if he was 3,800, I don't think people would be running to play him because the average outcome is probably like 22 to 24 fantasy points, right? And 24 fantasy points is probably not winning you a tournament at any price most of the time, right? So I'm not, I don't know, maybe I can get sold on him later in the day, but putting all that credit on the Celtics defense that we talked about, I just don't have. I'm not excited. And then his split was like 0.7 fantasy points per minute. So I don't know. I guess I'd be willing to be sold on him later in the day. Maybe they trap Jokic, right? Start double teaming him, and Barton and or Highland would have to pick up some slack. But for the most part, the numbers aren't like steering me to him to be an aggressive play that I need with a ton of equity, especially if he becomes like chalk. You know what I mean? If he becomes like a 30-40% on play, I just might chill. Rather pick Goodwin and White, Strickaroo, White. So Kobe White, if the Sumo was out, he's 44 on Fanduel, 54 on DK. So it's not like the same ballpark, if that's what you're talking about. Goodwin is a coin flip as well. Yeah. 208. Smash that like. What up, Justin? Appreciate that. Where we at on like 74? Yeah, man. My boy Damron's lurking in chat. Damron just lost his largest D award to Fish Fan on the last stream earlier. Fish Fan came in hot, dropped a either 10 or 20. But Damron said if he gets to 200 likes, he's coming out of retirement. So if you want Damron to come out of retirement, smash that thumbs up. And then if you guys just want to set a record, get yourself in the history books, raise your jersey in the rafters. 189 live likes is the record for a live stream. And we hit that on the 31st, which is weird because we hit a viewer record the other day, but we didn't break the like record. A lot of people were like, nah, I don't need to. Thoughts on Whiteside if Gobert's out? He definitely has slate breaking potential. We saw that in the last outing. But I guess it's a good sign that Gobert's been questionable over anything. There are enough people in chat to get me out of retirement. Maybe a lot of people just don't have a YouTube account. I don't know. Do you like Murray over 40 PRA? If that's a PrizePicks question for DeJounte, I'd probably rather just throw a blanket over his fantasy points and hope for the best. But yes, Murray looks pretty good today. We have one game left on the docket. For do that, take a pause for the cause. Get the rundfs.com plug out the way, man. If you guys want to hang with me in the premium Discord, I'll be here all day after lock. Thad Young expected to debut tomorrow. Keep an eye on that. But I'll be in the NBA voice chat from 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern. So basically 2 hours before lock. Chopping up the slate. If you guys want to be part of that, you can grab a mic, join the conversation, just listen in. And of course, my boy Josh, great job moderating the PrizePicks channel. And he also has the prop detector tab in the rundfs.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, which you can get access to with a membership at rundfs.com. Every membership comes with a credit towards a Fantasy Cruncher subscription, so a little extra utility behind your sub. Good way to support the stream, support the channel, support rundfs.com, get something in return. And then I also lay out my player pool for both FanDuel and DraftKings, my tier 1s, 2s, 3s, core values, risky values, and go from there. I'm thinking I might restructure how I present this during the All-Star break. I might just list my actual ownership caps. I have to talk to people. I don't want to change it in the middle of a season without, you know what I mean? But you also get like team metric charts, DVP, all that good stuff. And then, like I said, this tab right here, the prop detector, where Josh is ranking his favorite props and stuff like that. Such a fun addition to everything, right? Staying away from Rondo and Goodwin. Cleveland down, even know what they want to. Cleveland don't even know what they want to do there. I think they traded for Rondo for a reason. I think they traded for Caris LeVert for a reason. I don't think they typically expect LeVert to be a ball handler, but we might see LeVert and Garland might just kind of look a lot like Garland and Sexton, in the meantime, maybe. Thoughts on Korkmaz? Scott, I think Korkmaz could be really fun tonight. Potentially gets 30 minutes because of no Seth Curry. And then if we lose Tyrese Maxey, who's questionable, seems likely that he would get more, Gun, do you do any basketball best ball? Round one about over. I do not.
Bing bong.
Bing bong.
Out of retirement at a donated week pass. 120-ish more likes. Bunch of penis pullers can't even do it.
So if I'm getting that right, Damron's saying if you guys do 200 likes, he will sponsor a week pass at rundfs.com. Right? Man, I don't think we do it, bro. I don't think the viewers will get us to 200 likes. I just don't think so. But if they did, sounds like Damron will sponsor a week pass at rundfs.com, and we would give it away in chat too. So if you needed some incentive to hit that thumbs up button, there you go. Did that give him his big D back? I don't think so. He didn't do it. Make the AI talk dirty. Hit that thumbs up just for him making the AI talk nasty. What up, Mike? New to the site. When do the Fanduel DK worksheets come out? So, Mike, when I'm in the pre-log voice chat, I'm chilling, I'm updating projections, and as I'm talking, I'm creating my player pool. So it's a live document for the 2 hours before lock, and I usually get working on it around 5 p.m. Eastern. And go from there. It's also, like I said, live document, waiting on news and stuff to come out. So that's what it is. But make sure jump into voice chat if you can, or just listen in. You don't have to talk. Retire when you're financially set. Let's go. Penis pullers. Gun, who's your best 6K to 7,300 play on DraftKings? Player projections. 6K to 7,300. So I guess we would do. That's a big window, by the way. I feel like it'll probably be a guy like, I don't know, Jeremy Grant, but that would probably hinge. The comfort on that would hinge on Cade Cunningham. But looking at projections, Cole Anthony, who we're about to talk about, without Jalen Suggs, is interesting. Jakob Poeltl, sharing maybe some pick and roll with DeJounte, no Derek White, Wendell Carter, Lou Dort. Terry Rozier without Gordon Hayward. I think Jeremy Grant has a chance to be the guy for me at this price range. And I think if I get Cade Cunningham out, I'd probably boost that projection just a little bit. But we got time. Let's go. Let's play with the numbers. First of all, we love the Charlotte Hornets matchup, so there's that. And then we like Jeremy Grant to. Let's put Cade Cunningham on the court together. And I guess there's some caveats here that would change things, but just in general, these two on the court together. Grant has a 107 Fanduel point per minute rate, a 27% usage rate. And if we take Cade off the court, generally speaking, Jeremy Grant has a 25% usage rate, even a less fantasy point per minute. Maybe I'm too high on Jeremy Grant. I'm just excited for the matchup. Let's put some people on then. Let's put Sadiq Bey and Diallo. Not check. Pistons lead the league in Diallos. Jeremy Grant goes to 24% usage, 0.9. Hey, man, I don't know, man. I guess probably Jakob Poeltl has the highest floor to ceiling ratio that I trust. Seems like they're limiting Giddey's minutes a bit. Thoughts on his first half fantasy points? So yes, they are. The quote was they expect him to play around 30 minutes a game. So 15 minutes each half is probably the expectation. I think that's pretty in line with what we saw last game. Giddey 15 minutes in the first half. There was a 7-minute stint, 7.5 minutes plus 8 minutes, so 15 minutes there. So yeah. I think my favorite first half prop was probably Clint Capella. Oh, other than Grant. All right. What up, Ezra? Better than Ezra. Appreciate that sub. Welcome to the channel. Other than Grant, probably Jakob Poeltl. If it's 73, it's probably gonna be Jakob Poeltl. The Magic look good on paper, but man, are they in a rough spot. All right, let me bust it back open. Select all. Or no, I'm dumb. Select all. Grant's already a lock bet. Grant or K Johnson? Probably Grant. Is floor to ceiling ratio a thing? Why wouldn't you? If so, wouldn't you want it to be lower, aka higher ceiling? Maybe the way I say it isn't grammatically correct, but what I mean when I say floor to ceiling ratio is like if I compare two people, if one guy's floor is 30 but his ceiling 60 and another guy's floor is like 50 but his ceiling 60, you know what I mean? It's different between, but maybe I'm not using it like grammatically to the T, but I all we would really care about is the ceiling. What website am I using? For this is a spreadsheet that I've created. For the on-off core tool, I'm using Add More Funds, which is !AMF. It's not working. I have a here. This is my Add More Funds referral link. If you guys want to sign up for it, you can. This has a free version. I have a sponsored version that unlocks a few more stats. And then of course the other research tools we use is StatMuse. StatMuse is free. Shout out to StatMuse. I think that's it. I think I'm just using that. AMF, NBA Wowie, and the spreadsheet. Range of outcomes. Yeah, Ben. I'm definitely a little colorful with words sometimes, and maybe I don't use them the way they should be. What up, Conscious? Hey, yo, Tupelo Joe. Appreciate that follow. Sub. Welcome to the channel. Orlando Magic at the Utah Jazz. Main event tonight. Project starting 5. For the Magic, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs. Oh, I thought I had Suggs out. I guess he's questionable. Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Bamba. He's got hoes. Calling up against Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, and Rudy Gobert says he's a game-time decision. It's a 223 total. 14-point spread in favor of the Utah Jazz. Jazz come into this game with one of the league's best offensive efficiencies, 116.2 points per 100 possessions. Better than the Atlanta Hawks, better than Chicago Bulls, better than the Phoenix Suns, the Memphis Grizzlies, and Golden State. They're pretty far down there too now. So really good news for Utah to already keep that offense as good as it is while adding the best defender on their team, Rudy Gobert, potentially coming back today. So this has been a catalyst in the Jazz having one of the highest net ratings in the league, 6.7. And then I would imagine it only goes up with Rudy Gobert. Utah Jazz net rating with Rudy Gobert this season is 9.4. And that's in 42 games of sample size. And 9.4 would be the most in the league on this chart. So if Rudy Gobert can go, that's an impact player. And that is bad news for the Orlando Magic that come into this game with the third worst offensive rating in all of basketball with a -8 net rating. So we could have an 18, that could be a 18-point net rating, collectively. So, or 17-point math is hard. Bad spot for the Magic. Uphill battle at best. Utah's been putting away teams at the house lately as well. Did they do Utah Jazz in home games this season? I feel like at home they just extra juiced it. 6.6. That's about par for the course here. So really bad spot for the Magic. But Magic have really been on the wrong side of blowouts all year long. So it's not really much different. Not going to have warmer fuzzies on anything. I thought I might be able to put some more steam on Cole Anthony if we didn't have Jalen Suggs. Suggs got injured that last game. He's officially questionable here, but right Achilles soreness. Left that Portland game with that Achilles injury. It says it's worth noting the Magic will play 3 games over 4-day stretch with Orlando scheduled to play Phoenix on tomorrow night. It's possible that Suggs could sit out. So that probably seems like the most likely thing, put this game in the Utah altitude and then back-to-back. Maybe you rest him one of the nights and might as well give him a little extra rest on that Achilles in night 1. If that was the case, you might see Gary Harris starting his spot. Gary Harris, 4,600, 4K on either site. Terrence Ross didn't get shipped out. The projections are nice, but the projections are always nice on the Magic, and more often than not, they end up not being super stellar. And if Gobert is in, we don't expect a lot from this game. At least I don't. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking on the Magic? I feel like this is one of those spots where the matchup is tough enough that I'm not gonna really get there with a high level of confidence. And then the spread being this lopsided, you can make a case that it's hard to click and these Jazz players with a high level of confidence. Jordan Clarkson staying around. NAW could debut here. If Gobert did play, did they take it easy with him? It's 25 minutes enough Gobert just to ease him back in, and then you can divvy up Udoka, Azubike, and Hassan Whiteside behind him. If Gobert didn't play today, Azubike probably still starts, and then is 5,600 Whiteside back in the mix for throwing a block party like he did against Golden State. This is a hard read game. I wish it wasn't on the slate, but I feel like my ultimate results in terms of personal ownership is because I'm gonna be really low on this game and hope for a lot of averageness. Right? Maybe Bojan on Fanduel 5,500, probably a little too cheap. But I would like Gobert at 8,500 if I knew that we would get super deep minutes from him. But for the most part, I think I'm just staying away from most here. So big spot for the Jazz to keep their home stretch going, right? What up, Will? Says, yo, Gun, you're awesome, fam. Always speak when spoken to. I appreciate that. You deserve all the good that comes your way. That's love. When running your lineup optimizer, what's your max exposure set at? That's not a universal rule for me. I probably have a little different process than most when it comes to Fantasy Cruncher. So I'll show you my step one. I think a lot of the super sharps will probably just let their projections do the talking and set rules and all that stuff, and then just let everyone that's in projections with a number just have exposure to them. I'm a little bit different. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. So when I open up Fantasy Cruncher, which looks like this, by the way, you can get a voucher towards Fantasy Cruncher with a subscription at rundfs.com. So if you get that year pass, you actually get a $150 credit towards Fantasy Crunchers, which I think would get you like 2 months of their middle package. But the first thing I do when I open it up, one, I make sure that it's on the right slate. Two, I uncheck literally every player, and I'm going to hand vet everybody. And then I remove all the games from the active, and I go game by game. So I'll go to Charlotte Hornets, and I'll sort of, from projections to least. Let's say, yep, I want LaMelo, I want Rozier, I want Bridges, I probably want some exposure to Oubre. Plumlee's on the fence. If I put him in here, I might cap him, whatever. And then I'll start setting my rules as I'm hand vetting players. So with the Hornets, what I might do is create a new group, and I might put all these guys in here and say, I think they're all good, but maybe 3 of these guys don't have a ceiling outcome. So I might go at most 2 of this specific group. And for me, it's probably going to be 2 of these 3, Bridges, Rozier, Oubre. I don't really believe that LaMelo's, can't stand alone, but I might think that Bridges, Rozier, Oubre, we're not going to see 3 ceilings from these guys. So I'll probably do at most 2, and then I'll name it, I don't know, Hornets correlations, and then boom, we're done with that. And I go to the next game. And then ownerships, I set a specific cap for each player as I'm doing this, and usually it'll be one in reference to my probability of success, to how much I like them. And there's 2 ways I'll tack on my I guess interest in that player. So like if LaMelo Ball is one of my favorite players, I'm gonna hit that like button. You can hit it up to 3 times. I'm gonna hit it twice, and then if we see that he's projected right now, they say 27% owned. I'm probably going to want to be aggressive, so I might go as much as 60% and go from there. So it's not going to be, I don't set one ownership cap for everyone. I pretty much set it for every player, and just understand when I say max 60%, I don't truly expect to have 60% LaMelo. Maybe I will because I hit that thumbs up for this exercise, but same with Rozier, Bridges, Oubre with that total. And same, we're going to talk about the Bulls game, or we talk about the Bulls game having a 240 total. And for these guys, I just might put them all at 35 and let the robot do the rest. But I don't have a universal cap on players. And my risky value plays, my core value plays, they'll be appropriately tagged as well with the max amount I'd be comfortable with, right? A Dean in the chat. Danny Green. Danny Green, what's your minutes looking like tonight, bro? Tourney only for Orlando. Franz has usually got a chip in a chair for 30 fantasy points. That's about what I have him projected. It's about what we need. He makes the player pool, but it certainly wouldn't be a core player or anything like that, right? Doug says, I'm interested in Anthony assuming Suggs is out. I think that's fine, right? I don't think it's. I still think he could be in and of himself probably $1,000 to $1,500 too cheap without Suggs. Maybe we'll get official numbers on that. I guess I do gotta get us out of here. I'm gonna get official numbers on that. Cole Anthony with Suggs and then without Suggs, and then we'll try and wrap it up. So Cole Anthony with Suggs is almost 1 fantasy point per minute with a 22% usage rate. And then we put Cole Anthony on the court without Jalen Suggs. 30% assist rate with a 28% usage rate, and that point per minute production spikes by 0.2. So it definitely could be some meat on the bone in his price point, right? Any interest in Goga, Mo Bamba? Probably no Bamba if Rudy Gobert is in. Goga is definitely very viable tonight. 94 likes for the giveaway. I don't think we're getting 200 likes, especially since I didn't realize how late I was running. Gary Harris, 2 for 5. Yeah, all those plays, Isra, they make sense in a vacuum, but put in context to other guys on the slate, 1 at those price points, and then 2 matchup strength of difficulty, right? Jalen Suggs 55, 6,100. So like the Detroit Pistons 55, 6,100. 6K will get you Jeremy Grant. 55 will also get you Jeremy Grant. Like I think there's gonna be pivots that might give us the same floor. This is your floor to ceiling ratio. Might give us the same floor with a little bit more of a ceiling because of the matchup being a little bit more fruitful. I think Jazz is just not a specific spot I want to pick on. You know. It's just me or Tobias Harris in line for a huge game tonight. Nobody's talking about him along with Thibault. He's 8K. Sharing the court with Joel Embiid. I don't know how often I expect him to outshine Embiid, but 8K are normally I'm going to want 40 plus fantasy points. So even if he did get the 40, I'd take it, but it's not necessarily like a massive inefficiency in the site's part for the pricing, right? Ever see Kill the Irishman? I have not. Suggs is playing. Is that a question mark or a declarative statement? I have questionable with the Achilles. So something to keep an eye on. Anyway, chat, I gotta get you guys out of here. You guys go catch I guess live before lock's probably about to start. I'm getting into the rundfs.com NBA VIP Discord. If you guys want to join me, there's still time. Shout out to PrizePicks, title sponsor of the stream. Sign up, use code GUNDACKER. They will match your first deposit up to $100. We've got PrizePicks content here. We got PrizePicks content in the spreadsheet. And for the next couple hours, you can make cards for as little as $1 instead of $5. So get up over there, throw $20 at it. They'll turn it into $40 instant site credit, no slow drip, and get you some action tonight, man. I appreciate you guys as always, making my part of my day be part of your day. And I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. I think we'll do a stream tomorrow, probably, possibly, potentially, maybe. If we don't, I hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy your Super Bowl, but I'm pretty sure we'll have a stream tomorrow. I love you guys. Hope you crush it tonight. Screenshots, tags on Twitter, and I'll see you next time. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.